The stars shimmered coldly in the vast darkness of space. Beyond the orbit of Mars, a massive alien vessel emerged from the void, its metallic hull reflecting the distant sunlight. It was unlike anything humanity had ever seen, a fortress among the stars, with glowing red symbols carved into its structure. On Earth, the United Earth Federation, UEF, headquarters in Geneva, erupted into chaos. The moment the alien ship entered the solar system, every sensor and radar station had lit up with alarms. Scientists, military leaders, and world governments scrambled to make sense of the situation. "This isn't a scouting mission," General Harris muttered, his jaw tight. "They want something." A sudden transmission cut through the noise. The alien language was harsh and guttural, but within seconds, Earth's most advanced AI systems translated the message. "Humans, you stand at the edge of your existence. Surrender your world and submit to the rule of the Xilari Dominion, or face destruction." A cold silence filled the room. The words carried no emotion, no hesitation, only certainty. President Eleanor Carter, leader of the UEF, leaned forward. "Open a channel." A holographic screen flickered to life, revealing the Xilari commander. The alien was tall and armored, its skin resembling obsidian stone with glowing blue veins running across its face. Its piercing yellow eyes stared at the humans as if they were insects. "You have one solar cycle to decide," the commander continued. "Kneel or burn." Then the transmission cut off. The debate begins. Inside the war room, tension boiled over. "This is madness," one politician shouted. "We can't fight an enemy that can travel between the stars." General Harris slammed his fist on the table. "And if we surrender, we become slaves." The president exhaled slowly. "We don't even know what they truly want." She turned to Dr. Malcolm Reeves, the lead astrophysicist at UEF's research division. "Can we trust their timeline? Do we really have one solar cycle?" Dr. Reeves adjusted his glasses, his voice tense. "If they're anything like previous encounters with hostile extraterrestrial species, the warning is likely a show of dominance. They could attack whenever they wish." A heavy silence followed. Then, a young officer rushed into the room, pale and breathless. "Madam President, we just detected multiple Xilari warships moving toward Europa Station." The room erupted in panic. A hidden hope. Far from Earth, on the moon of Europa, scientists had been working in secret. The project was classified, buried beneath layers of security, so secret that even most UEF officials didn't know its true purpose. Buried beneath the thick ice of Europa was something ancient, something that wasn't human, but might just be the key to humanity's survival. Inside an underground lab, Dr. Evelyn Tran studied the latest scans of the object they had unearthed. It pulsed with energy, sending out faint signals, signals that seemed to react to the incoming Xilari fleet. Her assistant, Mark, gulped. "Do you think it's calling them?" Dr. Tran didn't answer. She stared at the alien artifact, heart pounding. Whatever it was, it had just become humanity's last hope. The Xilari did not wait. Just hours after their warning, a fleet of warships descended upon Europa Station. The once peaceful research outpost, buried beneath layers of ice, became the first battlefield in what would be humanity's most important war. Dr. Evelyn Tran and her team scrambled for cover as explosions shook the underground lab. Sirens blared. The station's defense systems, though advanced by human standards, were nothing compared to the firepower of the Xilari. "They're cutting through the outer dome," Mark yelled, his voice barely audible over the alarms. Dr. Tran's eyes darted toward the ancient artifact pulsing at the center of the lab. The energy readings were off the charts, as if the object was reacting to the Xilari's presence. "If they take this," she whispered. She grabbed her communicator. "Command, this is Dr. Tran. Europa is under attack. We need immediate evacuation. This artifact must not fall into enemy hands." The fleet responds. In orbit around Earth, The United Earth Federation, UEF, Defense Fleet prepared for their first real battle in space. Captain Daniel Mercer stood on the bridge of the UES Valor, Earth's most advanced warship. His crew worked furiously, loading weapons, running final checks, and preparing for launch. They hit Europa. His first officer, Lieutenant Kim, reported, "We have multiple auxiliary ships in the area. Our station won't hold much longer." Mercer clenched his fists. "Then we don't wait. All ships, engage." The human fleet roared into action, engines burning as they jumped toward Europa. The battle had begun. Europa falls, but humanity rises. The moment the UEF fleet arrived, the auxiliary ships turned their attention away from the station and toward their new challengers. Lasers, missiles, and plasma cannons lit up the darkness of space. The Valor led the charge, unleashing a barrage of railgun fire that tore through auxiliary frigate, sending debris spiraling into the void. But the auxiliary were merciless. Their warships returned fire, piercing human vessels with devastating beams of energy. Several UEF ships exploded in bursts of flame, their crews lost in the cold emptiness of space. Dr. Tran and the remaining scientists raced toward the last escape ship, carrying the artifact with them. "They're inside the station," Mark screamed. A squad of auxiliary stormed into the lab, their weapons raised. Dr. Tran turned, gripping the artifact tighter. The moment the auxiliary commander laid eyes on it, his expression changed, not to anger, but to something else. Fear. The artifact flared with blinding light, and suddenly, the entire station shook violently. Something ancient and powerful had just awakened, and the auxiliary knew it. The UEF fleet clashed with the auxiliary warships in a brutal battle above Europa. Explosions lit up the blackness of space, wreckage from both sides drifting like silent ghosts in the void. Captain Mercer gritted his teeth, watching the tactical display on the UES Valor's bridge. Red dots, enemy ships, outnumbered them 3-1. The auxiliary were stronger, faster, more advanced, but the humans had one advantage the aliens didn't expect: desperation. "They're flanking us from the right," Lieutenant Kim shouted. "Divert power to forward shields and load the railguns," Mercer ordered. His heart pounded, but his voice remained steady. "We're going through them." The Valor lurched forward, cannons firing at full power. One auxiliary destroyer took a direct hit, its hull cracking apart before it vanished in a burst of blue fire. Direct hit. The crew barely had time to cheer before another auxiliary ship fired back, shaking the Valor with a near-fatal blast. "We're losing shields," an officer warned. Mercer refused to retreat. "Keep firing. If we go down, we take them with us." The escape from Europa. Deep beneath Europa's ice, Dr. Tran struggled to breathe as alarms screamed around her. The artifact in her hands glowed brighter, pulsing like a living heart. The auxiliary commander stepped forward, his soldiers surrounding her team. His yellow eyes flickered with uncertainty. "You don't understand what you're holding," the alien said in a deep, guttural voice. "Give it to us, and you may live." Dr. Tran clenched her jaw. "If you're so afraid of it, then it belongs with us." She pressed a button on her wristband. A hidden detonation sequence activated, sending shockwaves through the station. The tunnels began collapsing. "Run," she shouted. The humans sprinted toward the escape shuttle, dodging falling debris. Auxiliary warriors tried to stop them, but the artifact flared again. A burst of energy sent the aliens flying back, their armor sparking. Mark hit the controls, and the shuttle blasted off, barely escaping as the entire station caved in. As they shot through Europa's thin atmosphere, Mark gasped, looking out the viewport. "Ugh, guys, the artifact just sent a signal." Dr. Tran's stomach dropped. "To where?" Mark's face paled. "Not where. To who?" A new player enters the war. High above Europa, the battle raged on. The UEF fleet was losing, and the auxiliary knew it. Captain Mercer watched as another human ship was torn apart, its pieces scattering like dust. His hands tightened into fists. "We're outnumbered," Kim whispered. Mercer took a deep breath. This was it. The end. And then, a new signal appeared. A massive unknown ship emerged from a rift in space, unlike anything either side had seen before. The auxiliary fleet froze. Mercer's eyes widened. What the hell is that? The ship's hull shimmered like liquid metal, and a deep, ancient voice echoed over all channels. The warning has been ignored. Now, the reckoning begins. The battlefield fell silent. The mysterious Titanic vessel loomed over Europa's orbit, its shimmering metallic surface shifting like a living organism. It was massive, dwarfing both the UEF and Xilari fleets. Its design was unlike anything recorded in galactic history. Not human, not Xilari, but something far older. On the bridge of the UES Valor, Captain Mercer stared in shock. His tactical screen flickered with static, unable to scan the newcomer. "What the hell is that?" Lieutenant Kim whispered. Mercer shook his head. "Something ancient." He tapped his comms. "UEF command, do you see this?" Static. The unknown ship's voice rang through every communication channel, echoing across the battlefield. "You have awakened the forgotten. The reckoning has begun." A pulse of blue energy radiated from the vessel. Every Xilari warship shuddered violently as their systems flickered and failed. Their shields collapsed, engines stuttered, and weapons powered down. The Xilari panicked. "This is impossible," one of their captains yelled over the open channel. "We are the Xilari Dominion. Who dares challenge us?" The response was instant. A beam of pure white fire lanced from the unknown ship, slicing through a Xilari dreadnought. The once mighty warship split apart in an instant, exploding into nothingness. For the first time, the Xilari knew fear. The chase begins. Inside the escape shuttle, Dr. Tran and her team watched in horror. The artifact in her hands glowed violently, reacting to the presence of the unknown ship. Mark gulped. "I don't think they're on our side." Dr. Tran gritted her teeth. "We need to get back to Earth. Now." She activated the ship's long-range comms. "UEF command, this is Dr. Tran. The artifact has triggered something far worse than the Xilari. You need to prepare." A Xilari fighter swooped in, its damaged systems still functional enough to attack. "Hold on," Mark shouted as he threw the ship into evasive maneuvers. Plasma bolts streaked past, barely missing them. The shuttle jerked wildly, alarms screaming. Another hit, and they were done for. Suddenly, a human warship soared into view. The UES Retribution. It fired a railgun blast, obliterating the Xilari fighter. "Dr. Tran, we've got you," a voice crackled over the radio. "Dock with us now." She exhaled in relief. "On our way." But as their shuttle approached the warship, she looked out the viewport at the massive alien vessel destroying the Xilari with terrifying precision. Humanity was no longer fighting just one war. They had awakened something far worse. The Xilari retreat. For the first time in recorded history, the Xilari ran. Their fleet, once unstoppable, fled the battlefield in disarray. Their warships, crippled and powerless, limped into hyperspace, desperate to escape. The forgotten vessel did not pursue them. Instead, it turned toward Earth. Captain Mercer watched in grim silence. "It's not after the Xilari," he muttered. "It's coming for us." His blood ran cold. Whatever the humans had awakened, it was only just beginning. The forgotten vessel drifted toward Earth like a silent executioner. It didn't need speed. It didn't need weapons. It was inevitable. On board the UES Valor, Captain Mercer stood frozen, watching the tactical display. The Xilari had fled in terror, but humanity had nowhere to run. "We can't fight that thing," Lieutenant Kim whispered. Mercer's grip tightened on the console. "We don't have a choice." A deep, ancient voice echoed across every human channel. "The reckoning is here. Prepare for judgment." The truth revealed. Deep in the heart of the UES retribution, Dr. Tran frantically studied the artifact. Its glowing pulses matched the energy signals coming from the forgotten vessel. Mark paced beside her. Whatever that thing is, it just wiped out the Xilari without breaking a sweat. What does it want? Tran took a deep breath. Not what. Who? She turned the artifact toward a nearby console. Data scrolled across the screen. Her heart pounded as she deciphered it. This isn't just some ancient relic, she whispered. It's a beacon. Mark frowned. A beacon for what? Tran hesitated before saying the words. For the creators of the Xilari. And us. The message from the past. A hologram flickered to life, revealing a tall, humanoid figure with glowing eyes. Its voice was calm, yet filled with warning. To the ones who awaken this artifact, know that your time has come. Long ago, we created the Xilari to serve, but they rebelled, turning on us, just as you have. Mark's blood ran cold. They're not talking about the Xilari, are they? Tran shook her head. They're talking about us. The hologram continued. We are the forgotten. You were meant to obey, but you defied your place. Now we return to correct that mistake. The message ended. The artifact stopped glowing. Mark took a step back. So this thing, it's not just a ship. Tran nodded. It's a judge, and it's here to wipe us out. Earth's last hope. The UEF command scrambled to prepare Earth's defenses. Every warship, every orbital cannon, every fighter pilot was mobilized. General Hawthorne's voice rang across all channels. Humanity has faced extinction before. We didn't surrender then, and we won't surrender now. This is our home. We fight. The forgotten vessel arrived in low orbit. It did not slow down. Mercer stood on the Valor's bridge, jaw clenched. All ships, fire everything. The sky above Earth erupted with firepower. Railguns, plasma torpedoes, nuclear warheads, all thrown at the approaching doom. None of it made a dent. The Forgotten responded. A single pulse of blue light swept over the planet, disabling every human defense system in an instant. On Earth, lights flickered out, cities went dark. Satellites plummeted from orbit. A mechanical voice echoed in the silence. Humanity's time is over. Mercer refused to accept it. No, we're not done yet. He looked at the scanner. One last ship was still active. The UES Retribution. And inside it, Dr. Tran held the key to stopping all of this. The world stood still. Earth's defenses had collapsed. Every warship in orbit was disabled. Every city below plunged into darkness. Humanity was helpless before the power of the Forgotten. And yet, on the UES Retribution, one final hope remained. Dr. Tran clutched the artifact. Its pulsing light synchronized with the signals from the ancient ship. The enemy had not destroyed them yet. That meant something. Mark leaned over her console. They're waiting. Tran's mind raced. They want a response. Captain Mercer's face appeared on the holoscreen, his voice urgent. Dr. Tran, if you have a plan, now's the time. She exhaled sharply. There was only one move left to make. We have to speak to them. A dangerous conversation. The crew gathered in the Retribution's command room. The ship's comms officer hesitated before activating the transmission. A hologram of the forgotten vessel's emissary appeared, a tall, faceless figure of pure energy. Its voice was ancient, absolute. You are unworthy of existence. You were meant to serve, not to rule. Tran stepped forward. We are not your slaves. The figure tilted its head. You were made. You rebelled. You are flawed. Mark clenched his fists. We're not the Xilari. We didn't rebel against you. The hologram's form flickered. Your kind destroy our creators. A chill ran through the room. Tran's voice was barely a whisper. The ancients. You think we wiped them out. The emissary's eyes burned brighter. We do not think. We know. Mercer's voice cut in over the channel. Then you're wrong. Rewriting history. Mercer's words hung in the silence. Tran quickly pulled up the historical data recovered from the artifact. "We don't know who built you," she said carefully, "but it wasn't us. We evolved on our own." The Forgotten didn't respond. She pressed forward. "The Xilari might have destroyed your creators. We fought them, too. We're not your enemies." The hologram flickered again. "You cannot prove this." Mark shot Tran a look. "Can we?" She took a deep breath. "Maybe." The artifact contained records, fragments of the past, messages encoded in its core. If she could decode them in time, she could prove humanity's innocence. But if she failed, the Forgotten would erase them all. Buying time. On the UES Valor, Mercer watched as the Forgotten vessel's energy levels spiked. "They're charging something," Lieutenant Kim warned. "It's not a weapon. It's something else." "Stall them," Mercer ordered. He opened a channel. "Listen to me," he called out. "You think you're bringing justice, but if you wipe us out, you could be killing the last people who can tell you the truth." A long pause. Then the Forgotten responded. "You have 10 minutes." The countdown began. On the Retribution, Tran's fingers flew across the console, decrypting the artifact's last message. It was a warning from the ancients, a final transmission before their extinction. As she decoded the final words, her eyes widened in shock. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It wasn't us. It was." The screen flashed red. "Time's up." The Forgotten had made their decision. The countdown reached 0. A pulse of blue energy rippled outward from the Forgotten vessel. The stars seemed to dim. Earth's atmosphere shimmered as an unseen force began rewriting reality itself. Captain Mercer gritted his teeth, staring at the tactical display on the UES Valor. "They're not firing weapons," he whispered. Lieutenant Kim's hands trembled. "Sir, they're erasing us." Humanity's last moment had come. And then, Dr. Tran's voice cut through the silence. "Stop. We have the truth." The Forgotten's mistake. On board the UES Retribution, Tran's screen displayed the decoded artifact's final message. The transmission was clear now, spoken in a language that had been lost for millennia. A ghostly hologram of an ancient appeared, the true creators of the Forgotten. "If you are seeing this, we are already gone." The Forgotten vessel hesitated. The energy pulse slowed, flickering like a flame in the wind. "We created the Xilari to serve, but they grew too strong. They turned against us, hunted us down, and in their arrogance, they left us to die." The hologram's eyes darkened. "If you, our greatest creation, ever find this message, know this. It was the Xilari who destroyed us, not humanity." A stunned silence filled the ship. Mark stared at the message in disbelief. They've been fighting the wrong war. Humanity's fate decided. The Forgotten vessel's hologram flickered back into view. Its once unyielding voice now sounded uncertain. "You did not destroy them." Tran shook her head. "No, we fought the Xilari, just like you." The ship's energy pulse faded. The process of erasure stopped. For the first time, the Forgotten hesitated. Thousands of years of hatred, of purpose, unraveled in a single moment. The stars were silent. The war had ended. But then, a new signal pinged on Mercer's display, an incoming fleet. The Xilari were coming, and they were not alone.